Do you think that because of the, the great communication now and everything, information is available, is art from all countries beginning to look the same?
In a way, yes, in the sense that the basis of the artist will be, of course, related to a certain number of origins, of individuals, of fathers and mothers of modern art, and it is probably true that an artist like Marcel Duchamp is as influential in Europe, in the United States, and even in Japan or wherever. On the other hand, I think you can always feel some kind of relation with the context. And it's very rare that this context is totally lost.
Because as an example, in China, there are artists working like Baselitz or Bill Viola.
Mm-hmm.
But in other words, it's like a ripoff. But is that flattering, or will these artists go on, do you think, to create their own special look,
Well, I don't think it's so problematic as long as the artist is going to develop its own subject. The art is always coming from somewhere. I mean, you cannot start from scratch. You have to either if you are in the art school or you are not in the art school, doesn't matter. But at least you have to start from something. What is sometimes more problematic in some attitudes of these artists, like for instance in China, is that they change so quickly from one style to another style, and you have a difficulty to understand what is really the line guiding the work. This is, I think, more problematic than looking like or whatever.
All over the world, people with huge amounts of money who used to be large donors to local museums are building their own museums. What do you think is the future for publicly supported institutions?
The very large majority of museums in Europe are public funded. This doesn't mean that these institutions do not look for other kind of support, private support. The acquisition policies of the museums is very much supported by the private people, with some very interesting initiatives from the French government to help this kind of support.
That's tax-wise?
Yeah, yes. Like, for instance, the system we call Dation, which means that instead of paying the taxes, you can offer works of art.
Isn't that what Picasso did?
Picasso did, yeah. Well, the family of Picasso did that, and this created the Picasso Museum. There is also a tradition of gifts, of generosity from some citizens, some collectors, which you have to know it's not, there is no tax deduction on this. So it's really a very generous gesture. And this allows the museum to be what they are. Centre Pompidou was probably one of the, not first, but one of these buildings who not only reacted to the idea of the museum, but also brought a real event in the city. And it's one of the buildings where architecture helps the visitor to get in and be next to the works of art. In some museums, the visitor is too much impressed by the building and enters in the building like you enter in a church, which is, of course, very different in the case of the Centre Pompidou. But I still think that we are trying to reinvent some of the conception of the museum. And one example happened very recently, because we had to imagine a new installation of the collection. This was due to some technical obligations to close some part of the permanent collection. So we had to concentrate the collection on a more limited space. And instead of showing our masterpieces, as many museums would have done in this situation, we decided to reinvent totally the presentation. And we organized the collection in 8 chapters, and inside the 8 chapters in about 45 themes. So each room has a specific theme, and we mixed all disciplines and all periods. So you have modern art of the beginning of the 20th century with contemporary art. You have architecture with painting. You have cinema and design in the same rooms. And it's interesting. It was a very interesting experience for us to do, and it's interesting to see that the public apparently reacts very positively and is, in a certain way, he has a stronger relation with what he sees than when you show him all the cubist work in one room, all the Fauvism in another room, and so on.
Should there be more exhibitions combining artists from one or two or more countries?
Well, you know, to remain one second on Centre Pompidou. Centre Pompidou, as many persons know, started in the first years with a series of exhibitions called Paris, New York, Paris, Berlin, Paris, Moscow. And the idea was to show that there were connections during the old 20th century between artists in France, artists in other countries, artists in other countries coming to France, and reverse. And I think that it's obvious that art is an international subject for anyone who decides to make works, and that you cannot think about the concept of creation isolated. You have to think about it in connection. So this is I think part of our activity, which is to make the relation, the confrontation between artists in our countries and artists in other countries inside the permanent collection, inside exhibition. I mean, it's one of the fundamental of the activity in a museum, in a program.
What is so special about Los Angeles and its artists that led the Pompidou to organize such an extravagant exhibition on this huge scale? That's a lot of artists.
I was maybe I shouldn't say that, but I was very shocked when I saw the first installation of MoMA in New York, because definitely there was a very, very limited number of artists of California in this installation. And this, I mean, there was Ed Ruscha, but very, very limited number. And this confirmed that there is a difference of appreciation between artists from the East Coast, artists from the West Coast, and that we can maybe participate to a better balance between these two, not schools, but origins. Of course, it will be a foreign point of view on the artist and on the scene. I mean, it's not like commissioning a very good scholar in Los Angeles or a curator from a museum here to do a show for Paris. It's our approach. So it will be certainly critical and subjective, but I think it's more interesting also sometimes, even for people of a country, to see how their culture is approached.